the lecture today. So I was had a couple of doubts. One is we say karma induces birth, correct? So the Abrahamic religions also say that you're a born sinner. So how different are we when we say that we are born because of our sins? I know that Shankara says that by removing ignorance, or by gaining knowledge, we can realize we are our true nature. But the reason for birth still being sins, right? So how is it different from the Abrahamic religions?
Yeah. So, first of all, there is no original sin. In our case, they are talking about some original sin. So, somebody committed a sin, therefore you are born like this. They don't say you committed a sin. They said Adam and Eve committed this sin, therefore you are like this, and you are a descendant of Adam and Eve. They don't say you. So, the differences. There are some certain differences here, important differences as well. And so that's sin. They're talking about original sin. You're born of original sin. Okay. Adam and Eve committed a mistake. Therefore, you have no choice. And you are the descendants, so you have to pay by living like this. But then you can, once you, after death, you are free. Okay. This is their idea. But our idea is not like that. Our idea is you're already free. You were never bound to begin with. Okay. And so Atma is already free. And so your own ignorance makes you makes you born again and again. That's the idea here. And the fact that, and so other difference is, by going to heaven and being with Jesus, you are, what is it called, eternal salvation, right? But eternal salvation is not possible, because the minute you say entering heaven, that means the heaven is going to get dissipated after some time, and entering means leaving will be there. This entering, leaving can never be eternal. So we quickly dismiss that idea that it's not possible. Such a thing is not possible. And so there seems to be some similarity. That okay, my own karma is producing. We don't use the word sin. Sin is not, ignorance is not sin. Not sin. Sin means intervention has to be there. Somebody has to intervene and then take that sin away. No. Ignorance means the problem is in your hands. Problem is you, solution is you. So you don't need to go down to anybody. Correct? You have within yourself, and even before you die, you don't have to wait until death to be free. Okay? Because my problem is now, here and now. I want to be free here and now. Which religion is going to give that? Free here and now. Everything is after death. And it's very convenient for them because nobody can prove it. So there are some differences like that.
One more question. The one is about accepting avatara in face value seems to be, skirting uh, the the doctrine of Dvaitam and Vishishta Advaitam. So I don't know how we draw the difference, because avatara is, if the moment we say bheda, right? Advaita is abheda. So when we say bheda, in whatever form, aren't we accepting some tenets of Dvaitam and Vishishta Advaitam?
Veda is Mithya. Vishishtadvaita does not consider Veda as Mithya. Veda is Satyam. Veda is
Okay.
Satyam for them. For us it is Mithya. Mithya means like pot. Pot is not non-existent for us. Pot is very much existing. But pot is not absolutely existing. But for Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita, pot is absolute. Pot is absolutely existing. I am saying no, pot depends on clay for its existence. You should look into clay. So for us, Mithya is very important. They cannot, they don't, they're not, they don't want to inquire into Mithyatvam of.
Apparent reality.
Correct, correct. Therefore, everything is real. Therefore, Krishna is real, Vaikuntha is real, and being with Krishna is very real. Correct? We are not saying it's not real. We are saying it is mithya. Understand that? We are not saying there's no Vaikuntha, there's no Krishna. Everything is there, but it's all mithya. You're going to Vaikuntha is there. We don't deny. We have no problem with that. Go to Vaikuntha. But being there forever, this idea and all is just Vedanta 101 will dismiss that. Correct? That's the point. Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you.
Jay Kumarji,
Yeah, Ramesh.
I have this understanding about karma theory, what you mentioned. If you have done the good karma and you'll be born as a human being. If you have not done the good karma in your previous life, you'll be like a earthworm or cockroach or something. That means that not doing the sin we are born again, our Atma is never dies. It goes from one person to another person. And if you have done the good karma, this life, and then you go to Swarga, whatever is like a money, what we have it there, when you are done that your account, you'll be back to the earth again. All it revolves our Atma in the different forms of lives. Not necessarily sin. I don't agree with we have done something sin, that's why we were born as human being. I think that we have done something good in the previous life. That's why we were born as a human being. Is it right?
Yeah. So that's in general, I think you are right. That birth, the human birth is unique and it's a result of punyam, not papam, really speaking. And then Manushya Janmam Durlabham. So it's a very difficult birth to have, therefore use it properly. That also Shastra.
Kumarji, to have a human birth, you need a mixture of papam and punyam, right? If it's only punyam, then the janma is going to be in Swargam. Is that true?
Yeah. So yeah, okay, Mishram is there, but predominantly punyam.
Punyam, okay.
It's not that. Yeah, among all the jivas, the human life is superior, and therefore we say punyam has predominated, and so the chance is given. That self-conscious being is there. Every other being is self-conscious. No other being can ask the question, "Who am I?" No other being can ask the question, "What is Vishishtadvaita? What is Dvaita? What is Advaita? What is it? What is Allah? What is Jesus?" No other being can ask the question except the human being. And so that's the beauty of that. So that's why we say Punya Pradhana.
Jaykumarji, even Punya is binding to us, isn't it? Like a golden shackle. Like if Papa is like an iron shackle, Punya is like a golden shackle. It'll make you be born again. Like Bhagya said, you will be born as a Devata.
So what is the question?
No, what I'm saying is irrespective of whether you do punya or papam, you still will have rebirth until you get the jnana. So rebirth happens even if you do punya, not necessarily just papa.
Right. So absolutely. So therefore, that's why you already said golden shackle, punyam and papam. That's why Rachiketa asked the question. Dharma anyatra dharma, anyatra dharma. Their dharma means papam punyam also. Tell me that which is beyond this papam and punyam. I can live forever. You already given me a boon that I can live forever, and happy life also I can lead. But Nachiketa has asked me the question. Hey, this is not the end of it, and this is going to continue. And afterwards, I have to be born again, and then I have to again somebody has to kick me out to Yamaloka, and then I have to argue with you, and then you have to give me another boon. What is this? This is going on and on. Another Nachiketa, another Vajashravas, etc. No. So yeah, Nachiketa is very clear that it's a golden shackle. Yeah. Point well taken.
So enlightened masters come and go on their own will, just like Krishna does. Is it like that?
Okay, repeat that again.
Enlightened masters, they come and go on their own will, like Krishna can do it. Is it like that?
Avatar Purush.
So yeah, so we cannot say who is an avatara and who is not an avatar, right? We can't make that judgment. So there are so many 7 billion people. We can't say. So we go by Pramana, we go by the Shastra. What the Shastram says, Shastram says Dashavatara, Ityadi, and then Ramakrishna, etc. We go by that. We go by that Pramana. And then occasionally we also hear saying, no, so-and-so Swamiji is an avatara of Shiva or Krishna or Rama. And so Shankara is an avatara of Shiva. Vyasa is an avatara of Vishnu. Like that, we do that. We chant it every day, we chant also. Shankaram, Shankaracharya, Keshavam, Badarayanam, this. So it's Pramana. Whatever our rishis have said, we follow that. And so, whether the enlightened masters came out of their will, or whether they were born ignorant, but they became enlightened and then blessed the world, anything is possible. But we really can't judge that. Anything is possible. What are possible? What are possible? Yeah, does that help? Yeah. You are muted. You are muted.
So are they choiceless? They have to come back, or they can choose not to?
Yeah. So first question: are they choiceless? So tell me. I'll ask you a question: does Bhagavan has choice or not? What do you think is? What do you think it is?
I would think choiceless.
Choice.
Bhagavan had choice.
Lokasangraham, right? Lokasangraham. He does it for Lokasangraham, basically.
Question. Answer the question. Does Bhagavan have choice or not?
Yes, he had a choice. He has a choice. That's why the avatars, whenever the bad things happens in the world, Bhagavan warns again.
So, you better be ready for this.
I don't think he has a choice, right? He'll just go.
You better be ready for this. Bhagavan is omniscient. Okay? All knowledge is Bhagavan. Bhagavan has no karma, there is no kartrutvam, there is no bhoktritvam. And Bhagavan has no choice.
Yeah.
Choice means it can go this way or that way.
That way. Yeah.
Okay. And choice is there only for the individual who is confused. Only that person has choice. Think about it. Really speaking. This is a huge thing. Bhagavan has no choice. Tell me, if Bhagavan has choice, think about this. Okay, Bhagavan has choice. So we say for us, it's easy to visualize Bhagavan because it's not somebody sitting out there. This entire law of gravitation, this entire laws, physical laws of motion, everything is Bhagavan. Tell me, is there any choice in the laws, how the laws operate? Is there any choice in the way? Today it's operate. Today the apple is falling at 9.82 meters per second. Tomorrow it's going to be different. Because Bhagavan has choice, you know. He can have a little fun with us. Right? He can have a little fun with us. And he can suddenly make us float. Why he can't float? Make us float? Because he has no choice. Bhagavan is like this. You better handle it. Think about it. Okay. Don't be upset. Don't say, oh, this is so sad.
But Jaykumarji, isn't it true that as far as cosmic laws are concerned, Rutam is concerned, there is no choice because they're already decided. But as far as Avatara is considered, doesn't he have a choice? Because, you know, he decides when to come. It is like, you know, yes, there are some parameters, but it is he who chooses voluntarily to come down with Maya under his control. Isn't that what our Shastras say?
You seem to be very concerned. Your voice is like very concerned. Don't be so concerned. But yeah, see, like this. Why should Bhagavan come? One chose to come, correct. But why should Bhagavan take an avatar? Well, because there is a problem, right? So, Mohani, are you there? Go ahead and
Yes, yes, I am there. No,
Yeah.
I understand that. What I'm saying
Why
is,
should-
but there's so much papam even already. He doesn't come exactly when there is papam. Also, there has to be a point, a trigger point, exactly where he chooses to come, right? Like if we see now, also there's so much papam going on. He doesn't come to establish dharma. I mean, for example, even if there is papam, the way it is said, from my understanding, I could be wrong. So, for example, he doesn't have to come and take care of the papam. For example, to kill Ravana, he didn't have to come. His Maya is enough to take care of the papam. He doesn't have to descend down. Okay, like for example, he doesn't have to kill Ravana. He come to kill Ravana. He doesn't have to come to kill Kamsa. But his Maya can take care of all these things. But when he wants to come, he will come, keeping Maya under his control at that time. So it is his choice, is what I grasped. So the Maya
So
takes control
Prarthana.
of
So
everything.
even the avatara is also controlled by the laws of the universe, and Ishvara's laws. Ishvara also is subject to Ishvara's laws.
True.
And,
Bhutam, I know that is under control.
So therefore, Prarthana is there. It's a karma. When people pray for an avatara, then it becomes karma. It becomes an action. That action cannot be ignored. Bhagavan cannot ignore that because that's a law. The action has to have a result. Therefore, Bhagavan comes because the need has been expressed by the bhaktas. Therefore, the helpless Bhagavan takes an avatar.
So he's under the control
you-
of bhaktas, basically. Like
He's under the control of nobody. He's under the control of nobody. The same laws that are work for you and me will work for Bhagavan.
oh, the laws. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's a bit. We need to think through this because so far we have a childish idea of Bhagavan that shows that he is there watching over me and he will take care of me when I am suffering. This is what we are told. There is some truth to it, but let's not take it literally, is what I'm saying. Bhagavan has no choice. Because
Yeah,
the laws
Bhagavan,
are unbiased. Laws
So
are
laws
unbiased.
bind him. Is that true then?
Say that again.
His laws will bind him. I mean, the cosmic laws, basically, his laws are all the cosmic laws. They do bind him too. They apply to him too.
There is no karma for Ishvara. So there is no bondage and things like that.
No, not bonding. What I mean is, how would I express it? I am
are
not
the
able
laws
to
of the
say that.
world, right? So if it has, he has to come into the world, he will be under the, right? He'll be bound by those laws.
Yeah. So it's a collective prayers that create an avatar, that create a need for an avatar. And therefore avatar comes.
So
Next
prayers,
class we'll discuss.
prayers make him
Next.
descend.
Correct.
Prayers.
Absolutely.
That's what I was trying to see. If it is the bhaktas, he comes for the bhaktas. Basically, when you pray for him, when you want, it is. I know, like that is a childish concept at this level too, probably. But what I'm trying to say is, what brings him down? Is it the devotion, or is it the loss?
So we'll talk about it next class. We're going to discuss this in the next class.
Okay, thank
So
you.
the shlokas are coming up with it. So we'll do that. So there are many people who are not there in the satsang. So
Sure, no problem.
let them benefit from that discussion. But good questions, yes. So Balaji is saying Einstein's famous quote: "God does not play dice with the universe like that." So that's a quote.
Jayakumar, please look into this. You are not very clear. You do fade quite a bit. So kindly see, can this be improved?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.